Ask these people to come up, stand with me this morning, because this is not an I thing, this is a we. When we started this Saturday afternoon, Saturday about lunch, we came together as a team. We remained as a team until we found the location of this young lady. So let me go on into the press conference here. On Saturday, October the 31st, at approximately 11:23 a.m., the Washington County Sheriff's Office received a call regarding the disappearance of 7-month-old Shannon Lee Dietrich. And in it, an extensive search was conducted by several local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies. This included approximately 3,770 rescue man-hours. During the investigation, Susan, who is Shannon's aunt, Susan Baker, who is Shannon's aunt and James Dietrich's half-stepsister, became a person of interest. Susan and James Baker were re-interviewed yesterday, and they provided law enforcement with the consent to search their home. The search of the Baker's residence began at 8 p.m., which included a canine search and rescue team. At approximately 9:55 p.m., Shannon Dietrich was found in a 2-by-3-foot cedar chest underneath a bed. Understand, under the bed was a box shoved in the back and a lot of material in front of it to deceive anyone who was looking. This box had a lid on it and also had a hasp on it. She was in the box She was in the box for almost 12 hours in a closed box. Shannon was immediately taken to the Northwest Florida Community Hospital here in Chipley, where she was examined by the local doctor. Shannon is currently located at the hospital, and we understand that she's in good condition. The investigation was revealed that Shannon's mother, Christina Lynn Mercer, and Susan Elizabeth Baker met Friday, October the 30th. Susan Baker asked Christina if she would permanently take custody, or could she permanently take custody of Shannon. Christina agreed to meet with Susan on October the 31st at approximately 1:30 a.m. at Christina's home on Brown Street. Susan Baker took custody of Shannon from her mother sometime in the hours of October the 31st. We could not have accomplished this without the men and women, and more that's not even present, that's standing behind me today. And I also want to say thank you to the press for helping us get and disseminate the information that we needed at the time we needed to help in the search of this child. And this is a successful recovery, where statistics will show and prove that this should not happen, and we're glad to come to this successful event. Any questions?
Can you describe the relief that you felt and your team felt when you found the baby?
I don't know if I can go through that again. We went to the hospital, flying to the hospital. Once we got to the hospital, we called our wives. There's 5 or 6 of us called our wives early this morning to let them know that we had found the child. And there's a lot of grown men crying, shedding tears.
Do you have any idea why Baker wanted custody of this child?
No, ma'am, we have not resolved that issue.
Was it air to the box? Did the child move into the box?
My understanding is she could get air.
Where was the child between Halloween and when it was? You said it was in that box for about 12 hours. Where was the child for the?
We're still going through that at this time. We wind up those loose end details.
Do you know anything about whether she ate or when the last time?
My understanding, she's been fed. She was in good condition. Excuse me. That she was placed in this. She was placed in this box as a hiding mechanism. If she thought we were coming, and at any time she would place the child in the box, put her back up under the bed, and put all these items in front of the disguise.
Just the two arrested.
But understand there was no bottle in the box. So what we found in the box, she was wrapped with some items, and all was this bacon powder to cover the scent of the dirty diaper.
Bobby, during what was it, about an hour and a half, or almost 2 hours that you all were searching for the child, there was no noise from her at all?
No, she was, and understand, she was way back up under, closed in a sealed box, way back up under the bed, and a lot of items in between, but she was not crying.
Will we be able to see this box or a photo of it?
I think we have photographs of it that we may release, if it's not compromising our case for the state attorney's office. We'll be glad to release that.
You initially said that James Baker was detained. Has he been arrested? What is his?
We're still working on it. Mr. Baker has been released as of this morning, and we're still working with the state attorney's office and Mr. Hess's office to see where we need, in what direction we need to go with that. And
what about involvement with the father arrested?
Pardon me?
What about involvement?
We have
with the father?
seen no in this investigation. We have not seen any involvement on his side. This conversation was between Susan Baker and Christina by themselves.
What does Rusty have to say?
What Rusty has to say?
What does Rusty have to say about the custody of his child at this point?
The custody?
I mean, where is the child going to go, and is the father fighting for
This
the
child is going through DCF, and it's talking about where the child goes from there. You'll have to talk to the family.
Can you tell us any more about the search process? How you obtained a permission to search, or did you obtain a search warrant as well? Or
yes, we did obtain a search warrant as well. These were the things we were working on Tuesday. We had went back to the residence to obtain physical evidence from the vehicle and to put in our search warrant to use in the search warrant.
And that was
about the mental health and stability of Susan?
I cannot go into the mental health. You'll have to ask the expert.
Was the van the key piece of the application for the search warrant?
That's one of some.
Can you tell us some of the other pieces?
That would compromise some of the things we're doing with the state attorney's office at this time.
Does Baker have a past record? Has she been arrested for anything before?
Who?
Baker?
Baker was arrested in South Carolina.
For what?
If I can remember off the top of my head, for aggravated battery or some of that sort. We found that out the first night we were doing background checks on all the people. So she was arrested in Beaufort, South Carolina.
Doesn't she have a missing son?
Yes, that's my understanding. We have an investigator here today that wants to follow up the leads on that case, and I'll refer any of those questions to him.
Any truth to the rumor that somebody had confessed to killing this child during your investigation?
We had no confession, but there's all kind of rumors flying.
Sure.
We found the baby in a dumpster. There's confessions that they killed. Anytime you have this, we have all kind of blogging going on and things going on. It's somewhat hindering our mission, but you have to stay focused on it.
Have you found that any of those rumors were started by some of the persons of interest? Or?
No.
Has the mother given any indication why she gave her baby away?
No.
Any idea what they were planning on doing with the baby after the search?
We do not know. She will not tell us.
What made you look under the bed?
Ma'am, when we do a search warrant, you go from stem to stern, from top to bottom, from end to end.
Who actually found it?
Investigator Keeney Brock with the Washington County Sheriff's Department.
You mentioned earlier that media coverage kind of pushed the window on the time frame.
We just had to speed a little faster. You have to methodically dot your I's, cross your T's. So we want to make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's.
Were you afraid at some point that Ms. Baker would be spooked by?
Would be gone, and we would not. We have to do the things we need to do.
Is that investigator here right now? Standing up there? Could you talk?
Can you come up?
South Carolina?
No, the investigator that found him.
Mr. Brock? Mr. Brock he's kind of shy. He loves to work. He's a hard-working investigator. And I want to tell you something about our staff. We're a small, Washington County is a small agency, but we have the most dedicated staff to the citizens of Washington County. These gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen, and I'm talking about from the jail personnel to the secretary's positions, to everybody has chipped in, pulled together to get the things done we need to get done.
Sir, at any point did Susan Baker tell you guys that she actually had Shannon?
No, she did not.
Sheriff, were Baker or Mercury the one tested for any controlled substances?
I don't want to comment on that because I don't know that. I think we was looking and talking, but I don't think if we did or didn't. So let me back away from that question.
Did you find anything in the woods over your search?
No.
Did Mrs. Baker help with that search at all?
No.
When you were combing the woods, I mean, was she a person of interest at that point?
Yes.
Has Mrs.
Miss Baker was was a person of interest from day one. Because she was the last person who seen the baby and handed the baby off to the.
And was that the reason she was a person of interest, or did her history have something to do with
history
that?
Also.
Okay.
Once we identified who the players were or who was involved, Saturday night we was running criminal histories and finding out, and we found that her history in South Carolina.
Did they volunteer any information once you were in the house and searching, or did you strictly have to find it?
The old country saying is like pulling hen's teeth. Mm-hmm. It still didn't get anything. Nowhere.
Sir,
This was just down grunt work by police officers. Just hard work by all these police officers.
And how did you obtain her permission to go in the house?
Well, I'll leave that to the investigation side of this, but she was interviewed, and her husband most of the day yesterday, and she gave us consent.
You said statistics show that this shouldn't end this way. How hard was it for you to keep day after day after day, galvanizing your staff?
It's very hard. You have a few hours of window. I believe it's 40-something% in the first hour that you won't recover, 70-something in the first 3 hours that you won't recover. And the time is of the essence, and that's the reason why we were there till 1:30 in the morning, just with flashlights and doing everything we could that night, the initial call.
What was Baker's reaction when you guys come out holding this baby? Did she say, I didn't know it was there? What did she say?
She's all right. She's all right.
Why did Christina, the mother, call 911 if she actually handed over the baby earlier that night?
We'll leave that for later.
And did she call 911, or was it the neighbor?
Pardon me?
Did she call 911, or was it the neighbor who actually made the call?
I'll have to back up and check, make sure. That she had went to the neighbors. I think it was. I want to think it was Christina that called, made the 911 call through the neighbor. But if somebody could correct me, I think that's correct. Okay.
Could you clarify about Mrs. Baker being the last person to see Shannon?
What I was saying about the last person to see Shannon, when we first initially received the call, Miss Baker is the one who gave the child to the parents on Friday afternoon. So between Miss Baker, the mother and father, that's the last three that basically seen the child, Shannon, until we got the call the next morning, 11:23.
Can you provide any further details about the actual process of searching through the house? Sort of maybe a schemata of the house.
Can we provide that?
Yeah. A floor plan.
It's just a single wide, 2-bedroom mobile home. It's out in a very rural area of Washington County, southeast part of Washington County, and I'm sure a lot of y'all have already been there. And it sits off the road there on Orange Hill Highway.
Any indication of what Baker wanted to do with this child long term?
No, we have no indication what she wanted to do.
At what time was the father released? I mean, not the father, the husband, the Baker husband.
He was released this morning, approximately 3 a.m.
You said the mother of the baby is also being charged.
That's correct.
Why is she being charged?
So her and Miss Baker conspired in this together.
To hand over the child.
Hand over the child at 1:30 that morning at the mailbox at the end of their drive.
But she didn't have anything to do with putting the child in the box or...
No.
Was this child, some people were talking about that there were maybe child services looking in. Did that have anything to play with changing custody?
Changing custody?
Well, giving custody from Christina to Baker?
That we've not seen that in this investigation.
Okay.
Now, I also want to tell you that the Department of Children and Families are now talking to the families, and they will be taking the child from here and be in their custody.
And anything else you can tell us about why the baby was so small? Why she's only 11
I'm
pounds
not in the
instead
medical
of-
field. We got those weights of the baby from the doctor himself that's seen the baby, and I can't tell you. My understanding, she was a premature baby. That's what I was told.
And is the mother mentally disabled?
I can't get into that. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist.
Go back to the box. 12 hours in the box. What was the method for? It was a hole in the box.
What was the method?
For air to get 12 hours.
Well, maybe we get the picture to you if we can.
We had stopped by yesterday evening, and you were guarding the gate there at the home. And I mean, am I to understand that Shannon was in the box at that time under the bed, and we were waiting outside?
Okay. We were trying to do our part as fast as we could to get inside the house.
Can you tell us more about some of the other items? You said there was baking soda.
The baking soda was inside the box to match the smell of a dirty diaper. She spoiled her diaper.
Anything else?
There was no bottle, just a blanket to cover it.
Any indication that this baby had been fed recently?
She was healthy. When the investigator pulled her out, she was just wide open, surprised, kind of a little bright light shining in her eyes, but just like nothing is going on.
Has she lost weight?
I couldn't tell you that.
Did you see the box yourself?
Yes. It's a 2 foot by 3 foot. That's 24 inches by 36 inches.
Wooden or cardboard?
Wood, cedar.
What was your reaction to the earlier News Herald story where we talked to the babysitter, to Miss Baker, and she denied any knowledge of where the baby was, said she loved the baby, placed a lot of blame on the mother. What was your reaction to that story?
I'd rather keep that to myself.
Can you comment on the Baker's employment with her husband or her that they?
I can't hear you.
Can you comment on the Baker's employment?
I don't believe either one were employed.
Either one of them. And has she done anything like this before with neighbors?
We have not had any calls out there to where they live or any calls where they previously lived. They've never been on the radar anywhere with us in law enforcement.
Here in Washington County?
Washington County.
Just in talking to neighbors, have you heard about her doing stuff?
No.
Y'all started investigating?
No.
How long have they been in Washington County?
The father is a resident of Washington County. I can't recall just how long the mother's been here, just maybe a couple of years.
And this is Shannon's father and mother.
That's Shannon's father and mother.
And what about the Bakers?
The Bakers lived here since whatever happened in South Carolina to bring them back to Washington County.
Okay, so that's like the 90s or so, is that right?
Probably so.
Okay.
87. 87.
Okay, and the father of Shannon is a long-time resident of Washington.
So Susan Baker had written a letter to Governor Christ?
Yeah, emailed her, and she offered a copy of the email to us.
What did it say?
Want something done, demanded, and was ridiculing our investigation that we were chasing ghosts in the woods, but not even realizing she was on the radar.
Do you believe that her email in August was genuine, or was that some type of setup?
I don't know. You'd have to go through the Department of Children and Family who investigates those type of things.
If I understand correctly, that you believe she had been placed in the box in previous instances when she feared you may have been coming in to search?
Correct. That was the hiding place for the baby. If she knew we was going to come out, if we called to come out, she would, talk to her. And when we asked her to come in yesterday morning, the officers drove out. She was been very cooperative until yesterday morning. She was in a very kind of agitated state, but she agreed to cooperate. Come on in, talk to us.
And that's when she allowed you to search the home?
Not then, no.
No.
It was after the interviews.
Okay, after the interviews.
Yeah. We didn't get into the home till last night about 8 o'clock.
What else can you tell us about? You said that she has another missing child, or at one point had another missing child.
Miss Baker, I'll have to refer you to the authorities in the Beaufort County Sheriff's Department of South Carolina.
Would you have had
That is a cold case. I believe they're actively working.
Any idea how long ago?
That's 1987.
Oh, that was the police. Okay.
Following the interviews when she consented to the search of the home, would you have had probable cause for a search warrant?
We already had obtained the search warrant.
Okay.
Once we had found the baby, we executed the search warrant.
Is that investigator from South Carolina had that with you maybe?
Yes, after this, if he's willing to talk to you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
What is the statement for a living? She babysitter?
Babysitter. I understand she babysitted, but she's also the aunt to this child. She's a relative.
Can you detail that earlier?
Well, step aunt.
Step aunt.
Is that maybe give us how did that work? How is that?
Ma'am, I cannot hear you in the back.
Can you
please.
explain that relationship? How is she the aunt and stuff?
Well, she's a half, I guess, a stepsister to the father.
Okay.
She's a stepsister to the father. Any more questions? Again, I want to say thank you to the news media. I understand. I also want to tell you that I have received some of your requests for public records requests. Please forgive me. We have been just overran, inundated, so we're trying to meet those things as soon as possible. So the things you need. Anything else? Thank you.
It's Charlie Chris calling. It's about 12:30. I just wanted to thank you for your great work in finding that child, and God bless you for what you've done. It's almost a miracle that she would, number one, be found and in such good health. God bless you. Thanks so much, Tom.
Yeah.
But it was sad. It was really scary, really sad. We were scared for the children next door, you know. But, you know, we're just so glad. Praise God for the diligence of the searchers, you know, and that he kept that baby and she's safe. You know, we're just really, really grateful. God is a great, mighty God, and he had baby Shannon in his arms the whole time, and we're just ecstatic that she was found alive.
Now, you have kids yourself, or?
I do. They're not here. They're down in Lakeland with their father.
All right, but there are kids here in the neighborhood.
There's 4 kids next door, you know, all little kids, and, you know, we were really worried about, we're like, no, why? And she said, because my baby's missing. I said, what do you mean your baby's missing? She's like, my baby's not home. She's just gone. And it didn't sound real, you know. We thought it was a Halloween prank or something. We went next door with her and looked, and sure enough, there was no baby. Car seat there, diaper bag there, bottle in the bassinet, no baby.
She wasn't upset, though.
No.
But she
Daddy
did.
was. Daddy was very shaken up.
But she did eventually make the 911 call herself.
She did, yeah. I offered her to use my phone because I didn't have minutes on my phone. I offered her to use my phone to call 911, and eventually we went and got the neighbor's phone and used the neighbor's phone, and she called 911.
Well, what did she say on the phone?
She just said that she woke up and her baby was missing. And she proceeded to make Daddy a cup of coffee and roll of cigarettes and sit out here and smoke. Father couldn't even hardly breathe. He was choking and exasperated. And I brought him out my asthma inhaler so he could use it, try to get his breath. It was just it was crazy. I'm just praise God.
Thank you. Thank you so much.